welcome to another one here at A Little Room to Grow. My name is Rena Etienne, Montessori teacher, here to help you grow in your homeschool and parenting journey. If you're new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button. That way you get weekly tips on how to implement Montessori at home and also within your homeschool space. If you're seeking to create a Montessori inspired play space, then check out my e-course called Create a Play and Learn Space for babies all the way to preschoolers. And in this e-course, I give you a 5-step guide in how to create a play space that will allow for your child to gain creativity and independence. I give you the ins and outs on how to choose the right toys for your child to keep them inspired and engaged and even challenged. All right, so check it out. The link is in the description below. All right, so let's talk about what you need to know to keep your child's play space organized. This is actually the second video in the series Montessori Play Spaces. The first one I've talked about the basics on what you need to know to set up a Montessori inspired play space. And so now we're going to talk about how to keep it organized. Whether you're trying to create a Montessori inspired play space or not, these tips are going to be helpful for you because at the end of the day, what you want is for your child to play more and to not have a cluttered space. And I'm pretty sure that when you implement these changes, your child is going to play more and life is going to be so much easier because now there's going to be less things to have to clean up at the end of the day. Woo! So let's get to what you need to know to keep your child's play space organized. First, what you want to understand is that in order to keep the space to a minimum, you got to have exactly what your child is going to use out. Meaning you want to get rid of any broken toys, any toys that are missing pieces, and toys that are also in packaging, you want to take them out of the packaging. That way your child does not need your help in order to take it out, and also you're kind of like eliminating a mess when you're doing that, because things can get really messy when your child starts to take things out. They get all mixed up, and then they need your help with setting it up and then putting it back in the box. So the idea here is for your child to have a minimal space that they can easily get what they want to play with it, and then to put it back on their own. So start with that. When you think about it, most children won't feel inspired to play with broken toys. They will feel really frustrated trying to play with something that's missing pieces and that's not really functional. And it's hard to feel inspired and to get creative when something is kind of tucked away in a box somewhere, right? So before anything, declutter the space. Next, if you feel that your child owns a lot of toys that they can actually use right now in their current stage, but it's just a lot of them and you don't have as much space to work with to kind of like hold all these toys, then try to see if you can make yourself like a little mini storage area, like a little rotation station, right? This is gonna be a space where you're gonna have some of your child's toys tucked away, and then the other ones you're gonna place out on the play shelf. That way you don't have to have everything out. And again, you can keep the space at a minimum, which this again is gonna help your child feel much more inspired to play. Then you'll get to see what your child is actually into. If you find that they're not into playing, let's say with Legos that you have out on the play shelf, then you can take out those Legos and put them away and then swap it for something else that's in your rotation area. It's important though that when you make this storage area, your child does not see you taking toys in and out from there, because then it's going to be difficult in trying to keep the space to a minimum and organized, because your child is going to know that they have some other options that they can go to somewhere else, and they're always going to ask you to take something down, take something out. And so that just kind of just takes away from the whole thing, because then you want to leave it out and it just gets complicated from there. So kind of look at this space as like your little secret stash if possible. And if you know that, obviously you don't have anywhere else to work with in your home and it has to be, let's say, in your child's bedroom's closet, then maybe you can put the things inside of a solid color container where they don't know that it's there. And again, you're gonna take it out kind of like at a time that they're not around, swap out the toys, put it away, and your child will know that their only option is what's out on the shelf. Now, the ideal situation is that you don't necessarily have that many things that you'll need a rotation area, right? But if you do, then that's something that you can do. And if you find yourself having to use a little rotation area, don't feel bad. You know what? In a Montessori classroom, most classrooms have a storage area, because not all of the lessons that the classroom owns are necessarily out, because the teachers actually make lessons throughout the year and they swap them out. as the children kind of progress or their interests change. So that is basically a system that is followed by in a Montessori classroom. So don't feel bad if you feel like, all right, you know, I have things that I need to put away. I wish that I didn't, but I do, you know, like it's all good. It's just a way to, again, keep the space at a minimum and to also help you see how you can really meet your child's interest in choosing items that they will actually use. Next is try to store some of your child's toys, if not almost all of them, depending on the toys. Try to store them in some sort of container or a basket or a tray. In Montessori classrooms, all of the lessons, which in your case, in your home, the lessons are going to be called toys, right? All of the options that are out for the children on the shelf are actually in some sort of container, right? So that way that the child is able to just basically grab it with two hands and carry it easily, put it down, play with it, and then clean up, put everything back inside the container, again, pick it up and then put it back on the shelf. So you're making like this cleanup process a lot easier. Keeping the toys in a container is going to allow for your child to not only be able to clean up after themselves, but to also gain some orderly habits and visually seeing where things go, right? So that way that they know, oh wait, you know, the puzzles go inside of this wicker basket, and you know, the blocks go inside of this tin bin. And so this actually helps with the memorization and practicing orderly habits. So this is important because that's a part of mental growth, right? And heck, who doesn't want their child to be, you know, orderly that way? These are good habits that they're gonna learn to take with them as adults, and it's gonna help them later on too. So try to, again, keep these toys inside of some kind of container. Now, when you are gonna choose a container for your child, that is going to go onto the play shelf, try to think about your child that is going to be walking and carrying this container, right? So you try to find something with handles or something that's not too heavy, and so that way, again, your child can easily manage this on their own. Now, I will provide some options for you in the description, so that way you can find some containers or bins or trays that may work for you. Be sure to look for containers that aren't too deep, because you want for your child to see their options out on the shelf. If your child's play shelf is full of bins that are really tall and they can't see what's inside of it, it takes away from the idea of them feeling inspired to want to go and play, to feel called to the space, right? So they should be able to see their options out easily. So a good way to test this out is to maybe kneel down and look at your child's play space when you're setting it up, and try to see from there if you can see the options out easily. And if you can, then you know that you have done a good job in choosing the right container. When you are putting these toys in the container, make sure that they can actually fit inside of them, and so that way the things don't basically come out when your child is carrying them, because 9 times out of 10 your child is a lot less coordinated than you, and they're going to do a lot of stumbling and moving, and you know, some things are going to move around as they are carrying the container. And so you want to test that out, give it a little wiggle and see if it comes out or not, and if it does, then switch it out for something that that it can actually fit in. Now, in the first video of this series, Montessori Play Space is the Basics, I gave a visual tour of my classroom, and I pointed out that the lessons out, again, the lessons are going to be the toys on your child's play space. They are basically set up with a few inches apart, so that way the child can easily, again, grab the basket or the tray and take it out and put it away on their own. So be sure to do the same in your child's play space. After doing that, you're probably going to find that you may not be able to fit everything that you thought that you would, and that's okay. Maybe you can find another work around it, whether it's adding another shelf or maybe even categorizing you know, big things inside of like a bigger basket, right? Say if you have large balls or large blocks, then those can go inside of a bigger kind of basket that's not on the play shelf, rather on the floor next to the play shelf, right? So try to find some options to keep the shelf at a minimum. And again, if you feel like, all right, I still got some getting rid of to do because not everything fits, well then again, make yourself a little rotation area for the toys. And I have to point out that the rotation area is not going to be to store toys and things that your child is no longer going to use. So if they outgrown it, it does not need to be in the rotation area because they're not going to play with it anymore, right? So you're only going to put things that you know that your child could use or will use. And lastly, when you are keeping the space organized, you gotta kind of think ahead and plan. You want to include this inside of your child's daily routine. So for example, if your child is playing in the play space and they have about a good 20 minutes before it's time to start cleaning up, you want to give your child at least a good, realistically, depending on your child's age, maybe 10 minutes to clean up. Include the cleanup time within the play time, so that way you're not rushing your child to hurry up and clean up. And that way you can actually kind of guide your child in how to clean up, how to put things back where they belong. Remember that the puzzles go back inside of this tray, and then this tray goes onto this part of the shelf, right? So you're gonna be guiding your child in how to clean up until they get the hang of it. And then eventually when you say, all right, it's time to clean up, they can easily do this on their own. But they are gonna need your help in having to put things back where they belong, and they need enough time to realistically do this without feeling frustrated and without you being on top of them like, because then you're gonna kind of take away the whole experience of feeling independent and being excited about the idea that they can actually contribute to the household. It's funny that we think that children don't want to be bothered with these kind of like household tasks, but they actually seek to find some kind of independence, and they want to be a part of doing things around their home. So there is no better space to implement this than the play space. I mean, I can think of other spaces, but the easiest way to implement this is within the play space. So give your child enough time to clean up on their own. I assure you, if you do this every single time that they use the play space, then they will eventually pick up on it and it will become a lot easier. And the bonus is that if you have, let's say, multiple age children at home, you have your older child, you're kind of guiding your older child on how to clean up, and eventually your younger child is going to see your older child cleaning up, and then the older child can help the younger child, and it just keeps on going. And this is actually kind of like a little system that happens inside of a Montessori classroom, and one of the benefits of the mixed age children being in a classroom. And listen, a side note, if you have a toddler at home and you're thinking, yeah, no, my toddler just likes to like throw things and, just makes a big mess out of things and then walks away. Yes, it's true, toddlers do that. But I have to say that being with toddlers for about 4 years in a classroom, I've learned that holy cow, they are so capable of understanding, and they are so capable of following through with really simple steps that are attainable for them. And again, if you're making this simple minimal play space that is at their height, that's easy for them to take and put things away, then they can easily do that, and they want to do it. They actually enjoy it. All it takes is for you to be consistent in showing your child and saying, this is what we're going to be doing every time we play. We got to clean up. It's a part of the routine every day. Eventually they'll pick up on it, and it's just going to become second nature. So don't think for a second that just because your child is tiny and so cute, they will not do something as big as cleaning up after themselves. Not true. So now you've learned some effective ways that will allow for you to keep your child's play space organized. Remember to include your child in keeping it organized, because that is the benefit of having a minimal play space. If you find some value in this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, so that you can continue to get more insight like this on a weekly from me. I'll catch you on the next one. Deuces.